A couple of people knew what it was about, and a couple of people didn't, so I thought I'd do a talk on it. I actually used this product when I was working for a company down in Nottingham, and I thought it was pretty good to kind of get going, and it was quite good for kind of monitoring and analysing your kind of errors within your system. So the kind of the thing on the website is all about kind of like to kind of get a better experience for your application, and kind of so you can diagnose and detect errors before they affect the users. And most of you know kind of like a lot of people like Google, AWS and everybody else are kind of publicizing different stats. So I've kind of shoved these on the first slide. So these kind of like 75% of users leave applications on the website, leave applications and websites after only one error on the software error. So if you've got a software error on your website, people normally just close the browser and just leave and then go somewhere else and go to another shop. And then 40% of users leave an application or website if they take 4 seconds to load. So people want fast response times as well. So you need to know that your application's up and working efficiently, because I know I've like gone to shopping websites to buy things, and then even if it's cheaper, I've just closed it because I just can't be asked, and then gone somewhere else. But the funny thing is, only 1% of users actually tell the actual companies that there's any issues what they've experienced. I know with Twitter now, people like moaning more, but the customer engagement for actually feeding back when you've got no kind of login or any kind of way to monitor errors on your system, nobody kind of feeds back to you. So the idea is a Raygun kind of fits in to solve all these and a faster speed and accuracy. So it integrates with lots of products. So you can push it into you push notifications into PageDuty, Slack, emails, GitHub as issues, also through email. I don't actually know what that like symbol at the bottom is, but I stole it off the website. So if anybody knows what that icon is, is it? Ah. So then they get the data, and you kind of like their platform kind of does the detection, the notifications, creates things so they're visible. Helps you diagnose the problems by aggregating the kind of errors together, and helps people collaborate on them by sharing messages and like kind of linking people in and linking kind of errors as well. And hopefully get down to the resolution of that kind of the error. So the idea, it works everywhere. So it's not just for .NET, even though they sponsor this .NET user group. It actually works with pretty much like every language out there. So that includes Python, Java, JavaScript, Unity, PHP, Android, like pretty much everything really. But I'll share that later. And if it doesn't actually support what you need to support, there's actually a REST API, and they actually create, they've got SDKs for every language, what you can just like link into as well. So when I was down at a company in Nottingham, we kind of used Raygun to kind of like, as we were saying earlier about like command query segregation, we kind of had decorators around things, so we knew what things was erroring, precisely where and when and how long. So we kind of created our custom kind of implementations of them as well. And it integrates with many other software tools like Slack, Jira, and a bunch of other ones as well. And yes, it does have dashboards, so it's got fully customized dashboards. So any kind of errors that are coming in, you can aggregate them and put them onto dashboards. And these are pretty flexible, so you can pretty much put anything we want on them, including like heat maps on top of like locations or just standard graphs. So the Raygun platform is kind of built up into like 3 parts. The one I'm going to go into more today, what I've actually used is the crash reporting. So this is any kind of unhandled errors within the system. It handles them for you and kind of like aggregates them so you can like diagnose them. But then they also have real-time user monitoring. So this is more for like kind of front-end websites and things that are, like the users want to respond fast. And it kind of monitors that, all of that, and that's usually used by some JavaScript library, what you just plonk on the page, and it kind of tells you what the experience is, what the users are having. And they've recently released APM. So an APM is an application performance monitoring tool. Pretty similar to New Relic, so you can kind of dive deep into the kind of requests and where it hit in the code, and what database queries are called, and where it's going wrong. So the crash reporting stuff, you get like a screen like this, where it kind of aggregates all your kind of exceptions within your application. So it's a bit different from just generally logging all your exceptions. It kind of pushes them all into its own platform, and you get like an active tab. So these are all the kind of exceptions what are active in your application. If you resolve some, they go into the resolve tab. So you can do a fix and they say it's resolved in version 1.2, and then it'll know as soon as you release that that exception has been resolved. You can also ignore one. So for things like Google scrapers and things like that, where they're scraping your site and they don't pass like certain parameters to kind of methods to your APIs or something, you can just ignore them because you're then known errors within your system, but then they don't get notified again and again. And then you've got permanently ignored, so that's like totally ignore this forever. Those are the ones like delayed ignores. So they also get like once you get an exception in, they get aggregated together, and then you get a stack trace of kind of where it went wrong in your system. And it's quite good how it aggregates all these kind of errors together, because it kind of tries to match all the kind of stack traces together and give you kind of aggregate for you saying this exception's happened 10 times, even though it's the same exception message. It might be a different place in the system. You can also group them together based on, actually that's filtering. I don't know why I put error groups. So this is filtering, so you can say if don't monitor errors within a certain version, but monitor in another version, or don't monitor them within the internal IP address for our company, because we know we're doing crazy things with it. And it also does reporting and exporting, so you can export the data anywhere you want, and you can also do reports on top of it as well and export them out. And then the real-time monitoring. This is kind of what it gives you. It kind of gives you stats on like kind of your metrics on your web application. So it says this is performing poorly, and gives you like kind of the average load time is going up, and these are the what is actually happening with the system. So similar to what you get from like if you go into the debug tools within inside the browser, you kind of get it for free in the cloud, but you don't need to be on the person's device. And then the application performance monitoring stuff, this is where you can dive deep into the kind of each request. So you can say I can't really read these, but every single like API input, say, you can drill down into it to all the way to the code where you can see, and then you can see what actually queries are actually being executed. So I'm just going to do a quick demo of the crash reporting stuff about how easy it is to set up. So it just stores like some values inside a dictionary. And then this is the kind of the Raygun platform. So we create a new application inside Raygun. I click on the create new application. Then you can say like subscribe my team members to like notifications and everything else down here, if you guys can see. And then you can click next, and then it gives you a list of like kind of like templates what you can use. And so these could be JavaScript, ASP.NET, Ruby, like loads of different ones. But this is a .NET Core application, so let's click that. And then it gives a bit of extra instructions to do. So it says go download this NuGet package and install it. So let's do that. And while that's installing, let's read the rest of it. So then it says go paste this into your config file. Quite simple. And then it says to add the middleware. So it's got services one and the other one, which is just all in the startup CS. So this is like set up any old kind of like services and anything else in there. So once we've done that, should be okay. So now we're in this application. It'll have Raygun all fully wired inside it, and it'll monitor for all unhandled exceptions within the application. So I've got Postman over here, and if we do some, some gets on there, that'll return nothing. But say we want to put a value of 10 with some some text in it. It's got a breakpoint, but we don't need that. That goes save it, then we can do get back on it, and that'll get that data back out. But if we want to create some errors inside it, we just kind of say we want to get value 100 out. We can do that. That'll throw an exception. If we do that a few times, we get some unhandled exceptions in our code. And if we go back to Raygun, we should see these on the crash reporting. Well, when it's supposed to be working. I'll just flip back to a different application. So inside the crash reporting stuff, you're supposed to get like the dashboard, what we showed you earlier, and it'll tell you how many times this exception has been raised, and the count, and how many users it's affected. So you're trying to track the user by an ID, and also how many times this specific exception within the code has been raised. So you can drill down into that exception, and we get loads of details about it. We get the stack trace, all about the exception that's been raised, where the request was ended up, and what machine it was. We can also add some details onto it in the comments and tag people in as well. It also has more details about kind of the exception, so you can actually push more data into this as well. So maybe you track your users in a different way, you can push them data in as well. You've got all the HTTP data in as well, so all the headers, so you can kind of diagnose this a lot easier. And it gives you the raw kind of output of it all as well. So after you got an exception, you want to kind of fix it, and you fixed it in the code, you can either put it into a different version, get that to be notified, or you can just select resolved, and then when you get back to the crash reporting, it'll go into the resolve column, and then if that actually is raised again, it'll fall back into the active column, and you'll have the full kind of trace of where that error was before. So if you've got you've fixed a bug in your application where it's raising the exception, you've resolved it, and then like a month later down the line, it reappears. Yeah, it'll actually reappear as the old one, and you'll be able to trace it back, so you actually have all the kind of information on it from the previous people who fixed the issue. So you can see the progress of that, where that came from, and what they fixed, and etc. But that's about it for the actual demo. It has a cool button at the top where you can press what has a swirly thing. So feel free to log on and press that, because it does nothing, but it's awesome. But yeah, so if you want to find out some more about this, all this stuff is on the official website. They've got loads of documentation, which is pretty cool. Troy Hunt wrote a blog post about it, actually, saying how awesome it is and how much he likes it. I know lots of people follow Troy Hunt and think he's awesome. And also, a lot of the stuff is open source as well. So if you want to go dig around in all their different libraries, it's quite cool to see how they've written certain pieces of it. But that's it. Thanks.